This week's video is sponsored by Saal Digital. As you know on this channel, I love a bargain camera, and I wanted to ask an age-old question: is the humble compact camera any good? And I want to push it to its limits and figure out if I can get some really high quality professional prints with this tiny little $150 camera. So here is the challenge. I want to create 3 different images around the city of Liverpool, but put them together in a piece of wall art to create some kind of cohesive piece of art. Yeah, I'm calling it art. Now, if I don't fail miserably, I will show you all 3 on my wall at the end of this video, so do stick around for that. I only have one evening and a little bit of tomorrow in which to do this, because I'm only here for one night. So let's get going. Let's start with image 1. I don't think any piece of Liverpudlian wall art would be complete without a little trip to the Liver building. Now, it's a little bit cliche to just rock up to the building and take the photo, so I'm going to think a little bit outside the box and maybe frame it in a different way and try to make something a little bit different. All the wall art is going to be in landscape orientation, so I'm sorry Instagram, we're going landscape today. And I do have on this lovely compact camera the most ridiculous amount of zoom. We have a 30 times optical zoom, so I'm definitely going to play to the strengths of this camera throughout this video and try and play with the focal lengths a little bit. I am a sucker for a reflection, and I love this museum building with this sort of mirrored thing at the front. If you get it at some angles, it looks really mundane, but if you pick your angle very carefully, you can actually get the Liver building reflected in it. And I think it might be a more unique way of showing an iconic building in my own style, shall we say. So let's try and figure it out. Okay, I've got options. I like options. I'll figure out the best one in the edit. I might do a couple more around here now, just so I've got options, and then we'll move on to the second location for sunset. So my compact of choice is the Lumix TZ80. I found this used for £150, and you can find these very, very cheap. It is an older camera now. It has an 18 megapixel sensor and 30 times optical zoom, but it does have an optical viewfinder. So for brighter conditions like today, it's really blooming handy. It does shoot RAW. That's the main thing that I'm interested in. So I think it'll be more than adequate for this challenge. I'm not too interested in getting a standard photo of the Liver building, but just to demonstrate how handy compact cameras can be sometimes. Here is the widest setting, and here is how much we can zoom in with the optical zoom. Oh goodness, I think I need like a tripod. That is so zoomed in. I don't even think that's as far as it'll go. And you can really pick off some beautiful details. But just from standing in one spot has given me all these different compositions with this camera. Now, the bad side of this is when a camera tries to do every focal length well, it tends to do nothing brilliantly. It's just all average. So I doubt that this will be the sharpest lens in the world, but it is definitely very convenient. Yay for Google Maps. This worked out perfectly. The lighting is perfect. I cannot wait to take this photo. So, one of the drawbacks of a compact camera is we may not have the dynamic range that we used to, and we may not have the sharpness that we used to. And also, I kind of want some longer exposures of the water moving to make it blurred out a bit. So I think this image is going to be a little bit of a composite. I might do a long exposure for the water to make it nice and blurred and stick it all together. I wish we had a few more clouds, but whatever. This is still beautiful. Let's see what we can get. The minute I'm taking a picture, bloody big boat comes in the way. So while the boat's meandering across, I think I've got the composition that I want. It's mostly going to be the Liver building and the city tower. This optical zoom is coming in so handy. So I've realised, probably should have realised it sooner than now, that this lens only goes up to f8, which is crazy. I've never known a camera to only do this. Compact camera problems. So I'm going to MacGyver something. I've took my ND filter off my main camera and I'm just going to hold it in front of the lens so I can get a longer exposure to blur out the water. I'm gonna make this work if it kills me. So at 1.6 seconds at f8, because that's all, she's given it all she's got, Captain. That's what we get. It's a perfectly bright whiteout scene, but sticking this over the top and staying very blooming still, we get exactly what I was hoping for. So I would say an obvious limitation of this camera is you can't add filters, which sometimes you do need. I think we've just lost the light. The golden light on the Liver building was to die for, so I'm so glad I got here at the right time. I'm really excited to pixel peep these because that is a gorgeous view and I'm excited to see what I got. So it's the next day and this is the third and final shoot for my wall art. I'm at a very iconic piece of graffiti, the Wings of Liverpool. I'm trying to do some long exposures again for my sins with this camera. And I'm using the ND filter and I'm just here across the road and I'm at 180mm zoom. So I'm very, very much out of the way, I'm not disturbing anyone, and there's cars in front of it as well, so this angle and this zoom has also cleaned up the frame. So there's a lot to be said for the versatility of compacts. It's just a matter of waiting for the right subjects to come across now and sort of fish, in a way. Fishing for the right subject, and I might composite them, I might just use one, we'll see how we get on. So I think that's a wrap on the shooting side of this project. I'm going to pass you over to future Emily now, where we're going to edit the photos and see which ones make the final cut for the wall art. So it was very important to me for this project that all of the images work very well as a cohesive piece. So it's not just 3 images thrown together, I want them to be sort of summery and bright and bold and very high key. And for me, the one to match the rest of them too was the skyline. I think that was going to be sort of the flagship image, so to speak. So I've got the exposure here, and then I have 2 options with the long exposures to merge with. I have one with a boat, controversial boat, and one without. And I actually quite like the one with the boat. It adds a little bit of interest to the frame, in my opinion. So for the actual edit, I'm really emphasizing the summer vibes. So I'm going to use one of my own presets called Marry Me from the Radiating Beauty pack. Now there's some absolute bangers in here, to be honest, but I think that one's as close to sort of how I want it with one click. Now I want to up the white balance to really emphasize that it's sunset and make sure it's all nice and exposed. And I also want to just mess with the colors a little bit to tweak it to taste. This is the great thing about presets. It'll give you a good starting point, but then you can tweak it to taste. So I want to make the blues a little bit more teal. I just think that's more summery in my opinion, and I think that color palette will work really well for the wings photo later. Then I just need to crop. So I want to have it quite tight to the Liver building, and I would like it to be following the rule of thirds. So the buildings are perfectly in the middle, we've got the water and we've got the sky. Awesome. So I'm going to copy all of that and paste it onto my watery image of choice. And then I'm going to merge them both in Photoshop. The reason I can't use this one is the water looks really cool, but the buildings are nowhere near as sharp as this one, so it's well worth compositing. I'm going to put the water one on top and then painting back in what we want. And it's about being quite careful around the boat. I did take a lot more time with this on the original, but just to give you an idea, you can see that's the original, this is a composite. I think that's really quite cool. So now that I know that Marry Me works quite well, I'm going to use the same preset on this image, which is the Liver building one. And then from here, I want to really, really emphasize the summer colors. So I'm going to take my dabber and add in some saturation onto the Liver building and then change the hue of it as well. So you can get it quite red, you can get it quite green. I want it quite warm and in the middle. The only thing that is glaringly awful is this bit, which is completely overexposed. So you can go to your objects, you can just roughly draw where you want and it'll find it for you. And then I can pull down the exposure and the highlights, so that it's not blown out, but it's not too distracting. So there we go. That is a rough edit here. and that's how it was. And this is where we've got it now. And then side by side with the other one, it does kind of begin to look quite cohesive, which is really nice. The third image, I used the same Marry Me preset, and I just tidied up some bits and bobs in Photoshop using the masking tool. So I cleaned up those sorts of things. So these are the 3 images that I've chosen, and I've put my order in with Saal Digital, and I cannot wait to see them on my wall and see what they look like in real life. Thanks so much to Saal Digital for sponsoring this video. I am terrible for not printing out my work enough. I always intend to do it and then things just get in the way. So I'm really happy that I had this project and I found it incredibly creatively fulfilling, and I love the results. Saal Digital offer so many great professional products. They do wall art, photo books, even acoustically treated canvas as well, which I'm really looking forward to checking out in a future video. I particularly had never worked with this brushed metal before, and I explained that it was going to be a sunset shoot primarily, and I just think it works really well, and I love the results from this medium. So they have great customer service, they're there to answer any questions you may have, and they do support creators, so make sure you check them out in the link below, and thank you once again to them for sponsoring this week's video. I am so happy with how this project has turned out. I think they look so well together as a cohesive piece of work. I like that the brushed metal really emphasizes the texture and the sunset vibes, and I just think looking at all the little details in the prints is really interesting. It's such a high quality result. So I think my beloved compact has done fantastic in this project. Which of the photos was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. And have you changed your opinion on compact cameras? God, wearing hair is annoying. Wearing hair? That's so funny.